What's going on, everybody? Brett here. We're back with my YouTube channel, Good Talk Gaming, and today we're going to be doing another 2v2. It's going to be at the Battle of Winter Pyre. Very cool map with some unusual terrain. Just a huge portion of the map that you can't deploy in, and some high ground here that you're welcome to fight over. Now, my ally and I, we're going to be playing as the Last Defenders in the Cult of Sotek, the Lizardmen, up against the Dark Elves and Norska. We've got Wulfric the Wanderer, and I think we're going to have Malekith. As you can see by this number here, someone is memeing a little bit, so let's get into that. You know what? Let's introduce their army first. Check it out. We've got Malekith. Let's see what kind of spells he has. He has quite a few. Blade Wind's probably pretty notable. No doubt he has Soul Stealer to take some of that HP off of you and give it to him. And then just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 black dragons, as well as Malekith on his dragon. And they're going to be a pretty terrifying goon squad. And then, of course, because he wanted his army to be balanced. No. He just needed something on the ground so he didn't auto lose the game. He brought in a Reaper Bolt Thrower to add a bit of range capability to this Norskin army. Ooh, look at this Vanguard deployment. I don't know if I noticed this when the battle started. The Skinwolf Werekin. Oh, I remember thinking, where the heck did this guy come from? But no, hiding in the woods. I totally forgot he has Vanguard deployment. That's something worth remembering. That's a powerful unit to forget he has Vanguard. So before we get into our army, let's also get back into the Norskin army, because once again, it's much simpler to understand and to check out. Ancient Salamander there taking some of that fire until the Dark Elf player decides to change it. So front line here of Marauder Spearmen. I can't hate that. All Marauders have the Rage ability, giving them that physical resistance, melee attack leadership. And the nice thing about these is they also have the anti-large, so they'll be able to hopefully stop any kind of large units from running into the back line with that charge defense against large. Looks like 4 units there. We've got some standard Marauders out on the flanks. I like that. They're fast for infantry, that is. They can do some flanking, hit hard, and kind of in the center, we see some of these Marauders with great weapons. And they're going to be looking to tear up armored targets if there are any. Going to be pretty good against Saurus warriors. We have some Marauder champions with great weapons. Check out these bad boys. Awesome stat lines. And they will beat down Saurus. They'll struggle against Temple Guard, but Temple Guard aren't really made to fight them. It's a pretty even fight as far as that goes. And then just enough Marauder Hunters here with Javelins. Do we have any others? I love taking Marauder Hunters with Javelins. Their versatility in any matchup is great. But against the Lizardmen, I think they're invaluable. Their armor piercing is fantastic. Their rate of fire is excellent. And then we also have the Icehorn Marauders. There we go. They are immune to psychology and they have perfect vigor. That's kind of their thing. And they usually fight until nearly the last man with their great leadership. Wulfric the Wanderer here on his War Mammoth. Not much to say about him. When he's on this Mammoth, he doesn't even do anything. He just kind of hangs out and sits there. And it looks like the Ancient Salamander is going to be taking some pot shots. And I have a Bastiladon with a solar engine that's going to be looking to get into the fight. My ally has 2 Ancient Stegodons. I've got my 1 Bastiladon with solar engine. And I'm going to be trying to focus down Wulfric. He's a huge target. I don't normally like Lord sniping. And look, he misses. Unbelievable. But at least we still get kind of some contact. 9 kills on the Icehorn Marauders. But he's such a big target and such a huge threat with 14,400 HP. I mean, he's an absolute beast. All the abilities that come with Wulfric. But we also have here the SOULCRUSHER. An amazing War Mammoth. It's a Regiment of Renown, so its stats are absolutely juiced. But it also has Enrage, giving it 22 seconds of ward save at 44%. That's pretty enormous. Whenever you find it getting focused, you use that and you can hopefully save it before too many bad things happen. And then our opponent here is also using some good flanking tactics with some Norskin Warhounds, great against infantry. But I thought I could have sworn he also had... Yeah, here we go. So the Norskin Ice Wolves, they're the ones that are swarming this Ancient Salamander. And we need to move out to protect it because we don't want it to get crushed. The Norskin Ice Wolves actually count as a large target. So any units like my Sora Spears here with their anti-large are going to be able to help fight off this Norskin Ice Wolf pack. And then, of course, we have the Werekin coming up from behind. I had Kroq'gar kind of hidden in the woods because I didn't know what kind of build we would be expecting. And I wanted to make sure he didn't get sniped. So, man, this is getting underway quite fast. Let's go ahead and pause it so we can see things that are going on. Because there are some pretty awesome fights happening over here. So, we've got 2 groups of Ripperdactyl Riders. The new unit from the newest DLC. And these are not really made to fight units like Black Dragons. They have great armor piercing, but they have anti-infantry bonuses. But they're frenzy and their immunity psychology, which will keep them from being terror routed, of course. But they're decent air combatants, but maybe not against this many Black Dragons. You can't really plan for this. And then my ally and I also had very similar ideas. We each took 2 groups of chameleon skinks and kind of put them near the edge of this ridiculous, plateau formation, just in case there were any sort of vanguard shenanigans up here that our opponents were trying to take advantage of. Perhaps we could counter that or engage and scout it out at least. But now what we find ourselves doing is we're isolated from the rest of our army, and we're going to be using our chameleon skinks and their poison damage to kite back on these Black Dragons, and kind of on their own, they'll each be able to sort of take them out while these Ripperdactyls focus and really get crushed absolutely by these Black Dragons. But over time, over a long battle, chameleon skink fire can add up, and that poison damage slows so the dragon can never catch you, and you just kite them all over the map and kind of have your way with the Black Dragons. My front line is made up of skink cohorts. Let's go ahead and slow-mo it back. We've got some skink cohorts standard. I've got them out front. I expected lots of missile play from the Dark Elves, and we didn't really get that. So using them up front to take those shots. The javelins in the back, a little bit of poison damage, a little bit of range, just in case we needed it. And I think I'm going to be using them to shoot at Wulfric in conjunction with my Bastiladon. And then the Saurus warriors are going to be pushed through the center. I'm trying to choose my targets well. I've also got a pack of salamanders here, the hunting pack. And I think they have anti-large on their missile damage. They definitely have armor piercing, so they'd be pretty decent at shooting the SOULCRUSHER. But for the moment here, they're going to soften up these spearmen so that my skink cohorts can have an easier time. One of my Saurus spears, I caught these Norscan warhounds napping, and since they're near the edge of the map, I was like, you know what, we can get this pick. We can kill them. The Saurus will drive in, spear them, and then run them off the map, and then I won't have to deal with that kind of fast-moving unit getting into my back line. I'm being very cautious with my Feral Carnosaur with Kroq'gar. I also have Lord Kroq here sitting in the back with the Star Chamber Guardians, the Regiment of Renown Temple Guard, and here we see Seafang is going to be ripping through. The portal is opening. I've got I think this is Superior Shield of the old one's going to be going down on my front line to give my units that ward save. 44%. It's absolutely huge. And I also have a Bastiladon with the Revivification Crystal. I think I'm going to be sending it in against Wulfric to try and tie him down. Wulfric is amazing versus infantry on that mammoth, but he's not so great at killing something with 140 armor like the Bastiladon. And we're going to be trying getting some casts off. I see here we have a looks like a wind spell going off. Let's fast forward it. Ooh, I'm getting the Deliverance of Itza, and that was brutal, and there goes, oh my god, let's slow-mo that, the laser of the gods. That's from the new unit. We're going to go and find it in just a second. My ally brought it, and I was pretty happy to see it. That 1-2 punch of the Deliverance of Itza, combine that with this almighty, godly Protoss laser beam from the old ones coming down and roasting the entire front line, and that's just absolutely rough. I'm not sure what's going on here. You see the Shaman Sorcerer of Death on his chariot sitting back, probably looking for good single targets. Actually, a Fate of Buna went off here and was able to, oh god, it's going to roast these red-crested skinks. They're running right into it, and you see them getting mulched right now. Oh, that's brutal. Those poor guys. But here it is. This is the Engine of the Gods running in, and it's got this kind of badass-looking Stargate throne on the top. And what that can do is, obviously, it can shoot the laser beam, but it has one other ability. Let's see if we can get in on it. It's the Potent of Warding, so 5% damage resistance to everyone around it, and it also gives increased power recharge rate. So that's pretty cool. 2 little bonuses to that unit, and the ward save is not nothing. I mean, right now, that AoE is huge. It's hitting basically our entire front line, and yeah, that's not nothing. So Lord Kroq is going to be kind of held in reserve. I'm trying to keep my Star Chamber Guardians for when Wulfric inevitably busts through the front line. He's using the Sword of Torvald to take out my Bastiladon, but once these Star Chamber Guardians get in and surround with their huge anti-large bonuses, you'll see here the skinks throwing their javelins. Oh god, that's awesome. Look at the Ancient Stegodon in the background just running through, not caring anything at all about your charge defense against large. But the Star Chamber Guardians, the reason they're awesome, they have magic damage for dealing with physical resistance, and they also provide Guardian. So you can bring, them, take them into a pit fight with Lord Kroq, or with, Kroq'gar, who's kind of come over here with my Carnosaur, meaning to take out the SOULCRUSHER, and Kroq'gar is going to be, up to the task. This is what he's made to do, and the Pharaoh Carnosaur is just here kind of keeping these marauders off of him, using the swiftness of Itzo occasionally to explode this infantry from around him, keep him protected, as well as his other ability, which gives him physical resistance, and you can occasionally pop that. It also gives him some of his vigor back. Okay, so what else we got going on? My ally, whose army we didn't really quite get to go over, but he has Tehinawan, and he's up on a Ripperdactyl. Pretty safe, considering that the Black Dragons are off chasing our Chameleon Skinks. Not very good play from the Dark Elf player, unfortunately. He was trying to deal with all these assets. If he'd have sent 1 or 2 dragons over here to kind of help out, his ally would have had a much, better time of this. But instead, he just kind of gets overwhelmed. I'm able to single-handedly kind of handle his front line. My ally here, with all of his very thematic red-crested skinks, he's got the Regiment of Renown, the cohort of Sotek. He's casting a massive Flock of Doom here. Looks like it's catching 3 units. Is it overcasted? It is, so it's going to have increased damage. Don't really like all of this blobbing up of the red-crested skinks. Any kind of, another one of those big purple suns of Xeris dropped right in the center here would absolutely decimate this formation. I'm not even sure that's not going to happen here. But his ancient salamanders have been on good targets this whole battle. He's trying to get up and around with his skink cohorts, but the Norscan player was very solid. He was on top of his micro. He's even using his Norscan Ice Wolves here to try and defeat this Pharaoh Manticore, which has been summoned, as well as a skink chief. That guy was mine. I was using him at first. He was going to be kind of a scouting tool and perhaps a bit of a... Sometimes you can just sit these guys almost like a babysitter on top of a lord, and over the course of a long game with their ridiculous amount of ammunition, they can do a ton of damage. But I saw an opening to try and harass this Reaper Bolt Thrower, and I was able to, with the help of this Pharaoh Manticore, engage and shut it down and keep it from targeting all of our biggest assets. So I think that's about it in terms of introductions. That was quite a bit, and we'll get back to these dragons after a while. Right now we're just kiting, but let's go ahead and bring in that full speed and really take in the battle. Take a second to look at that. Just look how beautiful that is. Kroq'gar helping to defend Lord Kroq, who is not a pushover in melee, but a lot of friendly fire here from the hunting pack. You see that a lot. But the Norscan Ice Wolves coming in, actually these are just the hounds, the standard hounds, but they're coming in to try and aid, but I don't know if anyone on the battlefield really wants to fight Kroq'gar or Pharaoh Carnosaur. But I think it's actually just good play from the Norscan player. He's trying to pull back, he's trying to consolidate, but so many of his forces are routing. There's just an abundance of terror-causing units, ancient Stegodons backed up by Saurus warriors. That's a pretty hard thing to beat. But like I said, had some Black Dragons just been lined up behind all of those Norscan units, they could have just dove into the front line and been absolute terrors. And very difficult to take out, I would have imagined. But once again, just huge blobs here. Now that this Reaper Bolt Thrower is free once again, it's able to get quite a bit of fire. 25 kills. The Dark Elf player would have done a lot better for himself if he had just taken, a standard army. Nothing wrong with trying to have fun, though. The Skink Chief is going to get in on this Shaman Sorcerer, but on a Chariot, he's pretty much a match for this Skink Chief, especially in melee. I could just sit over him and shoot him. Norska's routing, and what I'm doing right now in the battle is I'm taking all of my resources, and I'm trying to very carefully pick who's going to do what right now. So I've got guys chasing in every single direction, knocking these units off the battlefield, making sure they don't come back. I use my Pharaoh Carnosaur here to chase off this SOULCRUSHER. Still has 6,000 HP. I don't want that coming back. And the Carnosaur is fast enough to ensure that it does indeed run. Skink cohorts chasing off the battlefield. I've still got some Salamander hunting pack shooting into some of the few units that still want to fight. No surprise, these are the Marauder champions. That they were kind of the last ones here, fighting. Lord Kroq and the Bastillodon. I was using the Revivification Crystal quite a bit this battle to keep our units up. Every time someone nearly got knocked out, they got brought back into the fold. It does resurrect. I thought this was pretty funny. I felt like my ally did this just for fun. Mostly he killed his own skinks, as you can see here. That's a line of dead skinks caused by that Engine of the Gods. But it was fun. He nuked some of these Black Dragons, that's for sure. And now, finally, the Dark Elf player realizes he's got to bring his forces this way And because I'm chasing off all the Norskin units, there's going to be no one left for him to support. It's too late. My Bastiladon is now turned, my solar engine that is, to shoot these black dragons. The Werkin gets on top of Kroq'gar, and Kroq'gar is having a tough time beating him. With Foe Seeker, he's just fast enough to continue catching him. I have the Sacred Spawning, give me that physical resistance, but it's going to be hard for me to get away from him. And I decide, you know what, he's doing way too much damage. Let's pull Kroq'gar out of here, and let's bring in my Feral Carnosaur and my Hunting Pack, and together they'll just kind of beat down the Skin Wolf. And the thing is, the Salamanders have flaming damage. The Werkins have regen, so surrounding them with that is just a pretty natural thing to do. And with that, the Dark Elf player just like concedes, and he's out. And the Norskin player's kind of had enough. I really wish the Dark Elf player, if you're going to take a cheesy build like this, at least support your ally a little bit. I think maybe he was having some lag problems, which definitely could account for that. And, I understand sometimes you want to play a game even if your computer can't handle it. And we were all pretty friendly in the chat, so no one was really like flaming anybody. But it could have been a bit more of a tactical game. I would have really enjoyed that. The Norskin player really brought the tactical side of our armies out. And yeah, it would have been really epic to see the dragons in the front lines fighting the Saurus. But you'll see here, look at this enormous pit fight here. I think we were about to get some kind of spell right in the middle of this. Wouldn't have been surprised if it was like a blade wind or something. That would have been beautiful from Malekith. But Malekith really didn't have a huge impact on this game. We can look at the kills. Lord Kroq with that one, I think I got multiple casts of the Deliverance of Itza, but that one first cast decimated the center line for the Norskin player and really allowed us to push in really any way we wanted. The Star Chamber Guardians stuck on Wulfric and kept him from charging really anywhere he wanted, kept him out of our Salamander hunting packs, kept him off of our solar engine, and we were able to, no kills. They were just fighting the big boys the entire time. No kills on the Chameleon Skinks, of course. Didn't expect to see any there either. No kills on the Ripperdactyls. All they were doing the entire time was holding up these black dragons. These kills, not impressive. The entire time, if they had they been fighting the entire time, these things could all have like 200 kills apiece. And this would have been an actually very close game and a very difficult army composition to beat. I almost appreciate him not doing that, because it would have felt very cheesy. But we did bring just enough tools to deal with air. My ally has 5 units of skink cohorts with javelins, good against black dragons. Chameleon Skinks, kind of the same thing. I would say Ripperdactyls, 1 Ripperdactyl on 1 black dragon. I think a Ripperdactyl wins, just from sheer like damage output and having multiple models. I want to say that's the case. Even the Salamanders can shoot them in a pinch. And I also had, my skink cohorts with javelins, as well as Chameleon Skinks and the Bastiladon. So we had tools to deal with the black dragons, but something I was worried about in the late game was us running out of ammunition, and then the black dragons coming and us not being able to do anything about it. But nobody was trying to cheese anybody, and the battle ended up being quite fun. And thanks to the Norskin player for putting up a good fight. Thanks to the Dark Elf player for trying to keep it interesting, and of course playing within the limits of perhaps what their PC or internet could handle. I totally understand that, and wanting to make it fun. And then thanks to Monkey Man for joining me on this cool Lizardman Bro team up. At first, I think I was going to take Tehinoan, but he ended up picking him, and I was like, you know what? That's cool. I'll partner up. We'll do like a buddy cop scenario. I'll pick Kroq'gar, and I'll take a Saurus-themed army with some of the big dinos, and you can take a Skink-themed army. The Red-Crested Skinks performed quite admirably. They were a bit bunched up for most of the battle, and they didn't have a ton of infantry to fight. But I'm finding that they're a very cost-effective unit in almost every matchup, thanks to their poison and frenzy and armor-piercing damage. But yeah, guys, that's going to be it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. It was a pretty fun 2v2 to play. And as usual, I will see you in the next one, guys. Good Talk Gaming, Brett, and all that. And yeah, like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. I appreciate all that stuff, that good YouTube stuff. And all right, y'all. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.